Yeah, we can start.
Yeah. Santosh, like two, three things. I want to know one more time, like the last day, uh, like once we use that uh, the entitlement type, right? So there you
Mm-hmm.
remember just you have shown like one part like next to the entitlement once we click that one thing's open. So for the ARS access, so you just give it ev dot status equals to like active or something like that. But at the same time you said uh, like in that case if we want this particular one needs to be visible into the ARS form or not, then after that like ev dot status equals to one. After that also we can put something. So that's that part uh, I didn't get properly. Even I have seen something in one of my disconnected application based work. So this is the one. And the second thing, the one you are showing, like how it is basically getting connected, right? Uh, like from Saviynt to somewhere, right? Just you remember you draw one diagram, one small
Yes,
diagram,
yes,
and give us.
yes,
So
yes.
if you just that two part, if you uh, just give one more time, little bit, and then after that, like if we just start with some few other questions and of the demo,
Sure.
like this demonstration of that, because
Okay, so this is the security system, right? And let me open one of them. Okay. So on that day, we discuss about three things, right? In any application integration, we need three things to be available. First one is connection,
correct,
second one is security system, and third one is endpoint.
correct,
But in case of disconnected application, connection is not required.
required, correct,
Not required. Okay,
correct,
because in disconnected application we are not actually doing anything with the target application. We
correct.
are just storing those data. But if that disconnected application is there are three type of application. First one is purely connected. In that case, we are doing all kind of things: provisioning, deprovisioning, and aggregation, reconciliation. Like aggregation and reconciliation is same. So all operation we are performing. In that case, all three components are required: connection, security system, and endpoint. Another one is disconnected application, and that is a purely disconnected application that we are just maintaining for what we say access, what is just for a governance purpose. Like it will be available and we can see which are the access that user is having. Okay, and we can just do it. We can just trigger a certification, but everything will be manual in that thing. Okay, so in
Correct.
that case, connection will not be available. And
Correct.
the third thing is disconnected application, but it supports service now based or ticketing tool based provisioning.
Mhm.
Okay, so in that case, uh, it will not actually create or do provisioning in target application, but we are just creating one ServiceNow ticket or
Mhm.
any iteration tool ticket that will that will be fulfilled manually by that team owner or
Mhm.
that particular application owner manually,
Mhm.
and we will just provide a data from our end that there's a whatever data they have requested, like username, first name, last name, what access they have requested, and all. Okay?
Mhm.
And they'll manually create those accounts. So in that case, connection will be required, but not a application specific connection. It will be a service now connection for the
Service now
ticketing.
connection. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So basically like on that case like somebody will raise a request, right? And I'm just
Uh-huh.
trying to add you in ABC application with some entitlement ABC, right? So like
Yeah.
once I'll select that and submit that request, so
Mhm.
it will go to either like the at first the application owner, then it will be routed to that role owner or entitlement owner. And once this two level will be approved, then like it will be if the user will be created into the system along with those corresponding access, like what are they approved,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
so in
Yes.
that case, just we also need some workflow to be created into the system.
Workflow will be common. So let me. So you understood that connection part, right? First of
Yeah,
all,
yeah,
connection. What
correct.
are the
Yeah.
things we are doing in connection?
Mhm.
Then there is a second part is a security system where we will say that what workflow will be triggered.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay. So it's not like always workflow is required. So workflow, it is a, one of the configuration item in security system where we will say that if any add request like this security system, this workflow will be triggered, and any in any removal scenario, this particular workflow will be triggered.
Mhm.
Is it fine?
Yep.
And we used to select the connection, which connection it is supporting for the
Okay.
provisioning part.
Okay.
And in case of ticketing tool or that service desk connection, then in that case we used to select the service desk connection as a
Services
snow
connection.
ticketing tool or any ITSM tool connection.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay,
Okay.
and that's it. And this instant provisioning we used to select. Okay, so that is something like, so if someone says as an interview question, and someone says that you want to check the provisioning of any application and that is getting failed, so how you will say, how you will verify it?
Okay.
Okay, in that case you can say, you can answer couple of questions. First one will be you can go to ARS. Okay, and you can go to request history. Okay, and you can see actually what request user has raised. Suppose let me so this is one of the requests which is already available. Okay, so you can see how many tasks has been generated. Like here, first of all, we have to see whether it went for any approval or not. If it is, whether it is approved or not. Okay, so it will
Mhm.
say like auto approval task, then there will be a manager approval task, then it will be own role owner or entitlement owner approval task, and then will be in the end it will be actual task. Okay,
Mhm.
and actual task we you have to see what is the status. Okay,
Mhm.
so if it is discontinued, that means a task was created but someone forcefully discontinued it, so it won't go for any provisioning.
Mhm.
Then another one is pending. In that case, a task is created but the task is not completed yet. Then there is one more thing is like new. So new will be in a first scenario whenever any task will be created, first phase will be its first status will be new. And if provisioning the task is completed properly, then in that case status will be completed.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
so here you can see how many tasks has been generated. You can copy one of the task ID. Okay,
Mhm.
and you can see if it is in a pending status, or then in that case you can click on this task and you can open pending task.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
and you can search that task ID here, but that task was marked as a discontinued. So discontinued
Mhm.
task will be falls under this completed task,
Completed task. Yep.
because we are marking as a discontinued. So system will no longer now now that system will not pick this particular task for any kind of provisioning.
Got it. Mhm.
And they'll say that how to check any error, like if there is any error or not. So in that case there is a column called provisioning comments. Okay,
Mhm.
here you will see the error logs available. Like if suppose we are trying to provision a AD account, and that AD account we are trying to create a duplicate account. Okay,
Okay.
so
Mhm.
AD will throw a error like no duplicates allowed, or user DN is already available or something, right?
Mhm.
Or unique constraint exception or something. So those things will be available here in provisioning comments.
Comment. Yep. Mhm.
Okay, so these are a couple of questions they can ask and you can answer accordingly. So these are the primary things you can see, and then after that you can do one more thing. You can check those things in a application logs. You are aware about it, right?
Yeah, so like yeah, in the application lab. So they are just we need to go and just we need to check what are the restrictions are showing, right?
What I was saying that we can check application logs as well, like
Uh-huh.
what particular error we are getting.
Hmm.
Okay. So apart from that, we can check application logs as well.
Hmm.
And you know how to check logs in Saviynt?
Yeah, so like basically we check the debug log and we just make the number is 900 and just we check for the restrictions within the log where it is showing and
Yes.
like or the exception, sorry, it's
Yes.
yeah,
And one more thing, they have option available to download the file as well, entire file.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Just click there and download.
Instead of getting the particular hundred or thousand lines,
Uh,
we can download entire file as well.
okay.
Okay. So if
Hmm.
you want to see the longer logs, you can download the file.
Okay, okay.
That's another thing. And one more thing is like in a security system, we
Hmm.
can disable this part, instant provisioning. So what will happen if you want to see actually how this provisioning is happening? In
Uh,
that case, if it is an instant provisioning, so as soon as you are done with the request and it will goes for any approval if it is workflow is there, then once those approval will be done,
mhm,
this that particular task will be provisioned automatically and it will be instant means it will depends on the queue how many tasks are there in pending state, and
mhm.
based on that it will process our that request automatically without any kind of,
Automatically.
okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like suppose it will take somewhere around 2 minute 3 minute, or if number of tasks is high then it will take around 10 minutes. Okay.
So,
But not, yeah.
so yeah, no, no, go ahead. You finish that, then I'll ask one question. Yeah, finish that.
So, so if we mark it as an instant provisioning disable, so in that case, that whatever task will be available, that will be in a pending state only. And here we are marking it as an instant provisioning disable. So for that, we have to manually invoke a provisioning for that application, and that we can do it via job. If we go to job control, utility, so this is the provisioning job. Okay. So
Yep.
you have to explicitly add that security system here, okay, and you have to execute that task. If it is marked as a what we say instant provisioning disable, otherwise we do not need to execute any task. Yeah, now you can go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So no, no, that one I was asking that the provisioning job also needs to be triggered. So just we need to just select that job and we need to give that the security system then. So they will just map the new provisioning for this particular endpoint, right?
Yes.
I also have one more question. Uh,
Yeah.
I have seen like for some I don't know like whether I should ask in this point or not, but I have seen uh, some job, it's single dimension or the multi-dimension something like that, but that is used for the recon,
Yeah, yeah,
like
it is that multi-provisioning, multi-threaded and single-threaded.
multi-thread, correct. So but like how, I just need to know a little bit about that, like how we use this in
Sure.
the
So for that, first of all, that multi-threaded in configuration should be enabled. Let me show you. If you go to configuration, and I think in a home or common, just a minute.
so just can you just make this screen little bigger, can just maximize this screen.
It
uh,
is the maximum only.
oh, it is okay, so it is just for the screen it is showing like this, okay, that's fine.
Is it fine now?
No, no, that's fine. I think it's not you. It's for this from this application. It is fitting like that, but that's okay. I will maximize it once it is recorded.
Okay. If it is not available here, so
Mhm.
we can check it here in Saviynt con. That is log one. Saviynt con. Okay, and external config dot property. So here it is not available. Let me just bring up my local copy.
Also need to know one more thing from you. Like the first day, once we are just trying that the instance was not opening, right? But after
Mm-hmm.
that, like once it is opening, so like I know like some ppk file needs to be there, like what needs to be created into the tunnel, right? From the putty. So like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the- but I don't know the whole thing in case like once we'll start from the full fledgedly, right? Like the chapter by chapter. So after that, at least at the end, if you just show me once like the configuration, like what needs to be done there.
Sure, sure. Okay. And I was asking, or I was talking about the multi-threading, right?
Yeah.
So this is one of the backend configuration file, external config.property. There we have to enable it, enable multi-threading, WS retry.
So how we get this file? Is the Saviynt will provide that?
Or no, like as we said, Saviynt is a cloud-based product, so this file will only be available to their developers.
Okay. So
Not
just do we have to? So it is something like what they will do, or like it's
they will do.
we?
They, they will do.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
And so that's how we can enable that multi-threading. And once that is done, where it is, just a minute. Okay, so after that, here in a data, you can go with the multi-threading. Let me see if it is any. Okay, it's not available. Okay, and here we have to provide the security system and how many threads we want to trigger. Okay,
Mhm. So like here I need to understand like the threads means like what exactly
threads
it means.
means like if it is a single threaded recon we are doing, import we are doing,
Mhm.
and suppose there are 100 what we say accounts available in a target application. Suppose in AD there are 100 accounts. Okay,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
to recon or to import one account, it takes around 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, so uh, if we if we are going with the conventional normal single threaded import, then in that
Mhm.
case it will take 100 seconds, right?
Right. Mhm.
But if it is a multi-threaded and we are using 10 at the same time, then
Mhm.
in that case it will be completed in 10 seconds.
Okay, so it will just break it up like in a per beat. So it's take the 10, 10, 10, 10. So by 10 it will be finished.
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Okay, so that is
okay.
what it call it as a multi-threaded, but this multi-threaded import is not supported in all kind of application. Like some selected application supports this multi-threaded import, just like AD or any mature application.
Mhm. But then how we'll know like whether it will supported by multi-threaded or not?
It will be available in connector guide.
Okay, okay,
And this multi-threaded is not always advisable. Okay,
okay. But
So
what you are saying, like if it is the single threaded, right? So like for 100 records, it take 100 seconds, right? So maybe 1,000 record, it will take 1,000 seconds. So like, is there any way like the if it is the larger pool, we are just trying to just pull from the target through this the single threaded. So will it is it
it will
possibilities
take
it
time.
can become hanged or something like that?
In multiple threaded, it that can be possible. In single threaded, it won't be because it will take time, but it
Oh, but
won't
it
be
will
like
fulfill. Okay, okay, okay.
yeah. So in multi-threaded, what will happen? Suppose in some sort of disruption will happen, or it will be like deadlock scenario, and all those things can happen if the target
Okay,
system is not mature enough. Then what will
okay.
happen? Or two thread will try to import the same object at the same time. In that case, it will go in a deadlock or something,
Good. Okay,
and then that only can be resolved via server restart.
okay.
Because currently Saviynt doesn't have any support. Like suppose we can see in job control panel, we can see running jobs. Okay,
Hmm.
like if any job is running, then here you can see this many jobs are running, and you can click on it. So one more link will be available that is called it how many jobs are running at the moment. Okay, and there
Hmm.
is no any option to like stop that job or anything like close that job or remove that particular trigger or something. Okay, so we
Okay,
have to rely on either it should automatically like it should complete by itself, or we have to restart the server.
okay, okay.
Okay, otherwise apart from Saviynt, all other IDEM tool provides that facility. We can stop that job which is pending or which is stuck by like we can manually stop that particular job,
Mhm. So like
and they are planning to. Yeah,
just to run or the stop the server, like is this like how? So the thing is like you were saying like in case like if it is not finished, then we need to start the server. So like is it something we can start or stop the server from our end through UI?
no, no, no. For that, we have to contact their Saviynt team.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so they are having only that backend support, backend application database support, and they can
Mhm.
do it by themselves
Okay, okay.
because they are very specific to share. Like they are not sharing that backend server access.
Access. Okay, okay.
Anyone. Okay, and there is one more thing. So that will this part also will be done by their experts only in backend. So
Mhm.
if you go to this administration and go to client connection, okay.
Mhm.
So here you can see some what are the things is working on like how many threads are working on this database and all, right?
Uh-huh.
So suppose we have written any complex query which is taking like which is traversing or like thousand like lakhs of user. Like suppose there are 50,000 user and it is checking a few parameter, and that is a recursive query as well. Like 50,000 users will be checked again and again to
Mhm.
just to bring some sort of output. In that case, that query will take too much time, right? And sometime that is possible as well that it will go in a hang state.
Mhm.
So in that case, they have to stop that query as well. So they can do it from this admin access, like from workbench. They'll manually close or delete that particular query which is running on the database.
Mhm.
But this is just for your knowledge purpose.
Mhm.
As SailPoint developer, if you are working as a partner resource, then in
Uh-huh.
that case, kind of things you can do. Otherwise, as a normal administrator working
Mhm.
as under any company, then in that case, you won't be have access to those things.
This was, yeah, yeah. Even I have seen like none of our project had. the access in the backend database.
Mhm.
One more quick question, just related to that only. I have noticed one thing in once, just I was in like one project. It's a oil company, and it has the all application was the basically just a disconnected application. But once, let's say, like it used to come to us, right, just to work on, then like one thing we have always noticed, like let's say, like the we need to just load that data, right, as soon as like
Yeah.
the application comes, the first thing we need to load that data, right, just we need to upload the
Yes.
files, right. So
Yes.
then what we have to see, like before we do that, like we used to send the email to the Saviynt team. So like Saviynt team directly was involved with that project. We have some dedicated resource from their end. So what we used to do, we used to ask them to create some tables like in the database for that particular application. In that case, some basic requirement was there. Like let's say all applications have the deployment IDs, right? Usually, so like that part, and that is the unique ID basically. So
Mhm.
that deployment ID, then the your endpoint name, security system name, right, and like the entitlement types. So basically, like they used to send the file, like the application team used to send the file to load, and then we used to just build up into the dev, and then we need to build up into the production. So like, but the thing is, just to accomplish that, we used to share that information to that Saviynt team. Then they used to create some table space basically just to hold that data for that particular application. So my question, like, is it something like it's a kind of the create table by those particular with those particular values, like what we are providing, like let's say ABC security system, ABC endpoint, deployment ID, maybe 1000, right? So
Yes.
like,
So let me tell you that as well. So
mhm,
that can be done in a two way. Onboard any application, as we discussed, right? So in
mhm,
that case, that application, you will have one connection, and that connection will connect to the your Saviynt database itself.
okay.
Okay, and using that you can do it, like and using this import facility you can import those things. So let me show you in this environment itself. Okay, just a minute. So here they have created one more HRMS user, this table somewhere. Yeah, HRMS user, right?
Hmm.
So this user, this schema, Saviynt, Saviynt layer table. Okay, here it is, HRMS users, right?
Mm.
So this is not a Saviynt table.
Okay. Hmm.
Okay, so they have created this just for their own purpose, just like you said, right? They used to enter few things. So
Hmm.
suppose we are getting this kind of data from application team, saying that they want to onboard those applications.
Hmm.
Okay, so in that case, we will create one dummy table in Saviynt database, and we will provide a data from our end, and those data will be added or inserted in that table via application team or that Saviynt team. And
Okay.
this data we can what we say import using this data and data import jobs.
Hmm.
And there is one more thing, I'm not sure if it is not involved in a data like a database part, and if they are doing something else, then in that case it will be via this just a minute, system, no, schema. It
Yeah.
will be done via the schema one.
Hmm.
Okay, so using schema also you can import those dummy applications.
Dummy applications. Okay.
If you
So
want
like
to import entitlements, accounts, roles, or users.
so like so so Chirag, like what we usually do, we just create some schema and just create those, just map those properties, like what clients are given with the Saviynt properties.
Yes. So for this schema one, what you have to do, you have to go to admins,
Hmm.
not admin, just admin, configuration,
Hmm.
file, where is file configuration? No, IDP, no, okay, just a minute, let me check. Not this one. This configuration authentication config.groovy and external config property. We are talking about this, right?
Hmm.
External config property just for that multi-threaded one. So that we
Hmm.
can do it, but it is not advised to modify it by our end, because that this file is having other configuration parameter as well, like what will be the time, session time, and all those things. How many
Okay.
minutes and all those things.
So so
Like yeah.
so basically, like whenever, like let's say we are creating some new project, right? Like once only the system got handover, then do we have
Mhm.
to just ask the Saviynt team whether just to use the multi-threaded job or the single-threaded job, just they have to create the file
Yes.
accordingly on the backend?
Yes.
Okay.
So they will provide us with the like basic configuration as well. Like normally all configuration will be done based on the
Mhm.
standard user experience. Okay,
Okay.
and have some other requirement, specific requirement, we can ask them and they can modify.
Modified. Okay. 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 Got it. Okay.
This authentication config.groovy file is used for the SSO integration with any Okta or any other third-party SSO provider, like
Okay.
4 or something. So here
Mhm.
we have to provide that log central logout URL, and let me show you. Okay, what will be the after login URL,
Mhm.
and how what will be the response queue, what will be the CML logout URL,
Okay.
URL, how many, what will be the IDP,
Mhm.
so default IDP provider, what will be the metadata provider, SP file we have to provide, alias we have to provide. So
Mhm.
all those things are related to any SSO configuration. So if you want to configure your application for SSO, you have to
Mhm.
modify these things. And if you want to just like, if you do not want to do SSO configuration, but you just want these users to be authenticated against any LDAP or AD, in that case you have to do this configuration, LDAP configuration.
Okay.
Okay.
And how about this is the only the we're talking about the LDAP and AD. So like but in sometime like like Okta, let's say, like since you just bring it up, in my project I had Okta, right? So Okta was like the authentication source for all, right? Basically,
Mm,
like they're like whenever they log into their environment, so that is the basically the Okta authentication.
yeah, let me
then
go
then
to Okta.
then like yeah, then for the all the endpoint we had, like the other applications, like as a, like let's say as a Google, right? I'm giving example, one soft
Mhm.
phone, right? So
Yeah.
they also all our ticketing tool was Summit over there, right?
Mhm.
So like all has the different group assigned, like this endpoint actually created as a group in Okta. So like what happened, like as soon as users are getting created and you are onboarding into the Okta, right?
Mhm.
So then this has to be like this group needs to be assigned to the users in the Okta. Like it's mistakenly like if one group is not assigned, so let's say like user is displaying like inside the summit, but maybe he's not able to create any request. Then
Uh-huh.
like once we used to go to the Okta, then I find, oh, summit user is not assigned to that user. Like that is basically the same way like in the Active Directory we add group, right? Active
Mhm.
Directory group.
Yes, yes,
It's a
understood.
same kind of thing. Like it's the Okta group it's called, but let's say Google user or the Summit
Yeah,
user,
yeah,
it's same thing. Yeah. So like that needs to be assigned, then only that guy is able to perform the normal stuff what he's supposed to do in that particular application. So and I have noticed one more thing, Chirag. I was little curious to know how it works. Like, let's say like the Okta, since like this is the authentication source, right? So like let's say like you are onboarding today, right? So like, but in the organization email only you'll be able to access once you'll get to know what is your user ID and password, right? And like once you coming joining as absolutely new in a company, right? So somebody usually just give us, right, hey, this is our email, so like this is your user ID and password. Maybe your manager can give you. So what basically it does, like once like you are onboarding, right, and like HR is just sending your information from your what it's called like the workday to Saviynt, right? Then Saviynt is to give the throughput to the all the applications, right? Like the Google, Softphone,
Yeah.
Summit.
Yes, yes,
Then
yes.
and absolutely at the end, that I have seen like Okta is getting automatically added over there just because it's used to just route that the password to the manager of that guy, like whoever is just created as a manager of that particular user, right? So it's used to send one automatic email like, hey, this guy is onboarded as your reportee, his user ID is this, his initial password is this. Now the
हाँ,
manager used to communicate it to that guy, hey, you log in with this credential.
ठीक
So,
है.
so, so like this is the scenario has been created. So I just wanted to know like how Okta used to just add it. Like what is basically the standard provision to add any authentication source in such a way uh, as a birthright to any users into the environment. So like
So
once also
here,
you just
here, here two things are different one. First is birthright provisioning and another one is authentication one. So
Mhm,
authentic for the authentication we have to configure here authentication config.groovy where we are doing that IDP-SP configuration.
mhm,
Identity provider, service provider. So here it will be a service provider, Saviynt will be service provider, and
mhm,
Okta will be identity provider. So
mhm,
service provider Saviynt will authenticate any user against Okta. Okay,
mhm, mhm.
so that is the first part, and the
Okay.
other part is you said the birthright provisioning, right? So that
Mhm.
can be done using these policies. So do you
Oh,
want to continue this one now?
policies.
Let,
No, no, no. Like, but we'll see the policies later. I just just today I just need to know like like what we have.
okay.
Mhm,
So what I was saying, apart from this, actually we were discussing about the application, right?
mhm,
So we were discussing about the security system, like what are the things we can do on security systems, right? So what we have seen, we can configure connection, workflows, and instant provisioning. These are the main things we
mhm,
have to, what we say, look for
mhm.
in security system. Now one more thing, let me just, it will be little bit confusing, but let's try to make you understand. So connection and security system. Security system and point. ठीक है.
Mhm.
So do you know that database relationship? Have you heard of it? One to many and one to one?
Not exactly.
Not exactly. So
Mhm,
let me tell you one thing. One user can have one email ID, right?
mhm, mhm.
But one user can have multiple mobile numbers,
Correct. Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Same way, one user can have one social security number, but one user can have multiple, what we say, a car, like
Correct.
car model. Okay,
Mhm, mhm.
so that call it as a one-to-one mapping and one-to-many mapping.
Mini mapping. Okay. Okay.
Right?
Mhm, mhm.
So we also have that scenario in Saviynt for this application configuration. So one connection can have a multiple security system.
Okay. Mhm,
Okay. So here if you see, uh, when we are creating security system, so it will ask us to select any security connection which is available in the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
If here suppose we are selecting the Zendesk, and if we are creating one more security system with the name Zendesk 1, okay,
Mm-hmm.
in that also we can select Zendesk as a connection.
Got it. Got it. Right.
There is no any constraint where it will say that you have already used Zendesk in another security system, so you now you cannot use it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is called it as a one to many mapping. Once
One to
connection
many.
can belongs to multiple security system. So
Mm-hmm.
this scenario will comes into the picture when we have multiple disconnected applications. So suppose we have a Jira, we have a ABC, we have a test. These are the disconnected application, and all this disconnected application uses ServiceNow. Okay, ServiceNow as a provisioning connection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so is it understood? One to many mapping for
Yeah. Yeah.
connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same is the scenario with security system and endpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple endpoints can have a same security system.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is one of the question they can ask, and this endpoint scenario. Let me give you one endpoint scenario as well. So suppose um, where we have one configuration, call it as a so majorly in our scenario we used to do this what we say this one multiple endpoints belongs to the one security system in a AD application. We are not having any AD application. Let me just create one dummy one for you. Okay, so, okay. Okay, so this application we have created AD application. In AD application there is one attribute called endpoint filter. Endpoint filter. Here it is. You can see. Okay. अरे कहाँ गया here it is.
Okay. Endpoint filter. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Endpoint filter. So endpoint filter will comes into the picture, and this is the out of the box functionality for AD application only. Okay,
Okay.
so I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure is it is available for any other connector, but it is available for only for AD. And
Okay.
what will happen, suppose in AD, this is the same scenario which you were discussing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Groups one. So
Yeah.
suppose this is the AD, and in AD, suppose we are having a 10,000 groups, different groups,
Mm-hmm.
10,000. Okay. Now these groups are like, the why we use AD groups, right? The
Mm-hmm.
AD groups mainly used for the authorization.
Authorization. Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, like if you are a part or if you are a member of that particular group, then in that case you will be able to access any application. Suppose
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Microsoft Teams, they will have one group. For
Mm-hmm.
other thing, they will have another group. So if
Another
you
group.
have
Yeah.
a part of
Yeah.
that
Like in.
Microsoft Team group, you will be able to access Teams,
Correct.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Correct.
So same scenario, like and if this AD application is a requestable for end user, and if end user wants to access or wants to raise a request for Teams, okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so he has to traverse this 10,000 groups. Okay, and it
Okay.
will be very confusing for him as well, and it's not a user friendly as well, right? Because that user wants access to Teams application. They
Mm-hmm.
only understand Teams as the application, but they are not sure, they are not aware that Teams in a backend uses AD as a authorization store.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they are not sure, like if even they want access to Teams application, they have to raise a request for AD application. In
Got it.
AD
Mm-hmm.
to raise any particular group. So in AD, what we have, we call it as an endpoint filter. Okay, so what it will do, we'll say that in AD we have a naming convention like this, right? Um, Group name, then OU is equal to groups, then this is equal to XYZ, and this is equal to count. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of OU, so this will be the group name, right? Suppose there are 10,000 groups, so it will be difficult for end user to understand. So in endpoint filter, what we can say, suppose these groups are following some sort of patterns, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
it will be common for all like well established projects. So suppose if it is a Teams group, or if that particular group is providing access to any Teams application, then in that case it will, that group name will always start with something like Teams dot admin dot rights. Okay. Okay,
Yep.
if that group is providing access to, suppose, GitHub, then it, in that case it will something like GitHub dot read dot rights. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
then in the other one will be GitHub read access, write access, then execute admin access kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what will happen, instead of showing a single application AD to end user, we can say we can write a filter, and that filter, what we can do something like this. Um, yeah, let I have to check the check the syntax. I have to check the syntax, but it is something like we have to provide the endpoint name in a double quotes and something like this. Okay, and inside this we have to provide the entitlement type. Groups is equal to, and we have to provide the list of groups. So those groups something like GitHub read, GitHub write. Okay, or we can say GitHub and percentage and kind of thing, like all groups which are like CN is equal to GitHub percentage, and that's it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and endpoint name just say GitHub. And once we are having this configuration in place, so what it will do, once we are running the aggregation, it will create one more endpoint under application in under security system. Just a minute. Do we have open, and let me just open. Okay, so we'll have multiple endpoints under that security system. Okay, the primary one will be for AD Active Directory, and another child endpoints will be from GitHub and Microsoft Teams and all. Okay, and there will be one more extra configuration which will be available under that child endpoint, that will be a parent endpoint name, this one. Okay, so if someone asks you what is the parent endpoint and why it is available or what is the significance behind this thing, then in that case you can say parent endpoints will be available in scenario where this endpoint is just for a user understanding purpose or the user like it will be easy for end user to understand or make a request. In that case only we are using this endpoint filter or the multiple endpoints that belongs to the single parent endpoint. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what will happen if end user raise a request for that child endpoint? In that case it will not actually go for a provisioning. So suppose user is already having a AD as an application and user is raising a request for GitHub endpoint and one of the group, then in that case AD account will not be created again because AD account is already created, means parent account is already created, but
Mm-hmm.
child account, in child account, let me show you if there is any account available or just this any random application account. Okay, so in any account if it is a child account, in that case this reference account, okay, this particular
Mm-hmm.
attribute will be populated with the parent account name.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and actual provisioning or actual AD account provisioning will not happen for GitHub because that for that user AD Active Directory application account is already available and that account will be populated here as a reference account, that parent account name.
Mm-hmm.
Only group provisioning will happen. So suppose user is raising a request for GitHub read access, then in that case account in a Saviynt side for management purpose, that account will be created, but in target side it will not be created. In Saviynt it will be just a reference account. Is it clear?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the what we say configuration point, or you can at least like talk for 5 minutes on this particular points. And
Particular point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and
It's convincing
it's
one.
very like these are the things which normally not all user will be like will know these points.
Points. Yeah,
And
yeah. Really, really just helpful, man. Even I never heard these things before. Hey, one second. Since you are in the end point, can we, I just need to ask one quick thing. Can you just come down absolutely down? Just come absolutely down. Yeah. Chirag, so the absolute in the last point, right? You can see like
connection.
connection configuration, absolutely the
Yes,
last point.
yes,
So
yes, I
there
can see.
I have seen for the right hand side, yeah. For I have seen something in some of our the connected application like the Google or the Okta, right?
Mhm.
I've seen like
Yes,
they've given created the tag, the HTML tag, right? It's given conf and again that the conf tag closed. So like and I didn't I asked the guy like who just created that. I said, "Hey, what the hell is this?" He said,
this
"I
one.
don't know." Yeah, it's given conf. It's like I have checked for the all connected application like for the Summit, Google, all this.
Uh-huh.
It's given like it's blocked like the HTML tag the way it's created, right? Like the head and head close. It's
Conf
only
slash.
conf and conf close. Yeah, like like created
Uh-huh.
conf
I know, I know, I know.
on the yeah. So but what's the significance of that? Like what it is, like what it does basically.
So this one is for connection configuration. So it will be a extra feature available for some sort of connected application. So normally it will be a conf. If it is mentioned as a conf and slash conf, that means nothing is configured. Okay. And if
Okay.
they have configured specifically, let me show you one thing. So do you know that AD application supports group provisioning as well?
No, I don't know this.
Like we can assign groups to users, right?
Haha.
Okay, but do you know we can create as well, we can create a AD group from Saviynt.
No, no, I didn't even see that.
So that is called it as a group management. The
Okay.
one where we are providing a user, like we are assigning any groups to user, that is called it as a user management or
Mhm,
user group assignment. Okay,
mhm.
but
Yeah.
there is another feature called it as a group management. So to enable that group management feature we have to provider connection configuration.
Okay.
Okay, and we have that application where it is connection as well. हमने open तो किया था. Just let me close the not required things. Okay, so this is the Saviynt as a DB. Okay, so create update group, here it is. Create update mapping. Okay, so this configuration you have to enable for group management, and let me show you in a splash desk as well what happened. So if you go down user integration, so here you can say what are the features available, right? Reconciliation,
Uh,
provision, and password management, district locator, credential vault, managing list user privilege. And there is something called group management. Yeah, managing Active Directory groups, right? So if you go
correct.
there, so here one of the steps will be like configure Saviynt connection. So in Saviynt connection, I will have to configure where. Okay, so these are the steps you have to update, like you have to perform just for a group management one. You have, and here you can see members are added to the directory group. To do this, add value conf, add members to entitlement true, add members to entitlement true, and slash conf in a connection config. Okay, and that will be available under security system and all.
Oh, got it. Like only like this. If I have something to configurable like that, then basically just I need to put them inside this that part, the
This
conf.
config.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So
That will
maybe
be
they don't have, but in our project, in like what I have worked on, they didn't have anything. That's why they just simply open it and close it. They don't didn't put anything inside. Yeah.
yes. But you can now you are able to answer, right? I have seen that connection config in one of the ED application where group management was enabled,
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Mhm.
and that document will be part of AD connector guide only. And inside AD connector guide, there is a one. Let me just put it in a chat as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Now we have seen all configuration related to security system. Now it's part of endpoint. In endpoint, what we have seen child endpoint, parent endpoint, right?
Correct.
Now few other things like, and we have already discussed something about this one, correlation rule, account name rule, and all those things.
Yeah,
And
can you just tell me one more time like the user account correlation rule,
yeah,
the
sure.
significance
So
of that?
let me show you. Let me create one for you. So, what
Mhm.
is correlation rule? So, suppose if it is a AD application, then what particular attribute from user attribute? When we are saying user, so that means Saviynt user. Okay. So in Saviynt, we are having a multiple user attributes, right? So these all are the user Saviynt user attributes. Custom property one, there's all this things. Okay. So suppose in Saviynt, we have one attribute called it as a username. And that username, and in target application, suppose in AD or something other application, right? So they'll also have a multiple applications, multiple attributes. Am I correct?
Correct. Yep. Mhm.
So those attributes we are configuring in a connection here, attribute mapping here, account attributes, right? So from here, this particular drop down will takes value, like what are the account attributes are available in that connection, and based on that it will populate this value and will say that select one of them. Okay. And when we'll say ID attribute from AD application, so in AD scenario, it will be a user profile UPN value, right?
Correct. Mhm.
So UPN value, just for understanding purpose, consider it as a UPN. So UPN value of AD and username value from Saviynt side, if these two values are similar, then in that case, map that particular account to this user at a time of reconciliation. Is it clear?
Clear. It means like whenever the application teams are basically give us the column name, means what will be the name, particular name called for the uh, for that particular application. So that we basically just mapping with the our user attribute of Saviynt. So if it is
Yeah,
a username, so whatever it is, the same username called into the your target application, so that basically mapped within the correlation rule.
yes. And that will help that particular account to be visible under this account tab.
Got
Okay,
it.
so
Got it. Mhm.
suppose you are having Atanu is your account is been created in Saviynt and your username in Saviynt is Atanu, only Atanu. Okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
but you have one email address as well.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and you have your employee ID as well.
Uh-huh.
Okay, these are the three different things.
Mhm.
Now you have three different applications. First one is AD application, second
Mhm.
one is that Google application, and the third one is Okta application. Okay.
Correct. Mhm.
In
Mhm.
AD application is running on an email attribute. They are
Got it.
considering email as their unique attribute.
Mhm.
Then there is a Google application. Google application is using this particular username of Savient as their username.
Username. Okay. Mhm.
And the third one, Okta, is using your employee ID as their username.
Username. Mhm.
Okay. So if we run an aggregation, then in that case, your account will have only what we say that Google as your application account, because it doesn't understand that other two application, right?
Mhm.
Because those application is not running on your username, it is running on email and your employee ID,
Right.
and Save doesn't know that.
Mhm.
So endpoint filter will say that I have opened it multiple. An endpoint filter will say that even though it is a username, but if user's email ID,
Mhm.
okay, and from account side there is a attribute called it as a mail. Okay, in AD
Mhm.
there is a mail attribute, right?
Mhm.
So in AD, if it is a mail attribute and it is equals to the user attribute, call it as an email, then in that case map that account to this user.
For this
Okay.
user.
So
Got it.
now your user is having two accounts. First one is your Google, which is running
Mhm.
on a username, and
Mhm.
another one is the AD, which is now we have correlated manually, like we have written a correlation rule, which
Mhm.
will say that if it is email attribute is also matching, in that case it will work fine and it will match.
Mhm.
And now for the Okta, we can say that employee name and employee ID, okay, from user attribute. And in Okta, it will be ID, like they are storing employee ID in a ID,
Mhm.
okay. And we'll say that if these two are matching, then in that case, it belongs to this user. That account belongs to this user.
This user, yep.
Is it clear? Correlation rule?
Yeah, yep. It's
Uh,
basically depend like which application is taking what, which mapping with whom. Like you're right,
yes,
like the Google always go with the email. So then definitely like in that case it will be the username should be mapped with the email because
yes,
the left hand side one is always the Saviynt attribute, right? So if it is the
yes,
username, that the username will be the mapped with the emails from the Google side. So like once we'll create the Google endpoint, the endpoint
hmm,
for the Google, so the correlation will be okay, username equals to email over
yes,
there because it understand email.
understood.
Yeah.
And now in terms of account name rule, that is a completely opposite of a correlation rule. So
Okay.
correlation rule will comes into the picture when we are doing a reconciliation
Correct. Correct.
or import. Okay.
Mhm.
Now account name rule will comes into the picture at a time of provisioning. So in provisioning, what we are doing, we are actually creating a user account in Google AD and your Okta, right?
Correct. Mhm.
So now we have to say Okta that you have to create a user account, but in a type of user account creation, you have to use my user's employee ID as a username, not users like Saviynt users username as a username.
Correct. Correct. Mhm.
Okay, so we have to say that you have to use employee ID, okay, as a username and just save, click save.
Mhm.
So now at a time of account creation, it
Mhm.
will pick employee ID as a username,
As a
email
username.
as a username, or
Got
username
it.
as a username, or any specific things.
Kiraki, you remember I just told you like in the account name rule we had one the custom query because we had a
Yeah,
system like
yeah,
the user
yeah.
is to create it like employee ID and it is to add with some specific
Yes,
character
yeah.
like
Let me show you that as well. But
uh
that won't be available here. Like
yeah.
normally it won't be available in at a time of provisioning.
Mhm,
It will be available at a time of user import,
mhm,
just for your general purpose. Like it can be done here as well, no doubt. The
mhm,
one which you said, it is absolutely right, and we can do it here as well. And
mhm,
for that, to write it as a query, you have to click on this advanced config,
mhm,
and you can write a query just like this.
right, mhm.
Okay, and in basic config we can do a drag and drop or
Drag and drop,
drop
yeah.
down.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
but the one which you are saying, that will be available in a time of global config,
Yeah, is a user life cycle.
yes, register user or not register user home. Mm, Here it is, system username generation.
Mission rule.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here you can say that particular logic will comes into the picture here, where
Mhm,
we will say that if user type is employee, then write a username something like 000.1, emp 0001. If it
mhm.
is a contractor, then write a username something like cot 0001
One.
contractors,
Mhm.
and it will be a auto populated, auto incremental, where we
Auto
will check
incremental. Yeah.
the case. So I
Mhm,
just now in one of the scenario I have created that query.
mhm,
Let me show you that as well. Here it is. Okay, so that will be a case by case manner. Like if case when user.employee type is equal to consultant, then in that case value will be ext 00001.
mhm.
And this is not the complete query. Let me find the actual one. Here it is. This one. This is the query just to produce that logic. Okay. So what we are saying, it will be a case scenario. If employee type is consultant, then what we are saying extend like ext, that just we are putting as a constant, and 00000, and we are like doing one operation, call it as a plus one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if it is a temporary employee, then in that case its username something like 00001, and we are checking a if null and max operation. So it will check all those user with his which name should start with something like temp0 or emp0. So suppose we already have a username something like ext00005. Okay, so next time it should generate a username something like ext00006, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that we can do it using this max operation. So the maximum value which is available, we will pick it, and we will add one more numeric like plus one. We'll do one addition, and we will give it back for a username. So is it clear?
Yep.
So that will be
I just
mainly available here
I
in a system username generation.
you know I need some query based help later on. Like I'm just start working on just the learning parallelly. As you said, right? Just there are some courses given in YouTube. So I just
Yes,
downloaded
yes.
one. It's something around 3-4 hours. So
Uh-huh.
I just scroll roughly. It's given like all mostly like all stuff like how to connect to that database first, how to create the different table, then that the alter one, then the join, right? Then the select all the select different select queries. So like it's given like pretty good. So it's 3.5 hours video total. So
Uh-huh.
now I just need to just go through, and even it says like how you can just just install like MySQL and just practice. Just they've given some example just to do by your own.
We can do it.
Yeah.
So is
This
it clear?
query, yeah, this
Uh-huh.
part is clear. Yeah. It's only like here, like this thing like what is really pinching me, that is that the query part. Like the few things are just built by query here, and that
But don't worry,
I
it like it will take time.
yeah, it will
Then
take time. Yeah. It just
okay, so don't worry about it, and they can also understand. So
mhm.
even though you write to a simplest query, you can just do a Google, and Google will give you some hint like how
Hints,
to
yeah,
write.
how to write, yeah. No, I'll
And
definitely take the help of that. And here just one more thing I just need to know. Mm, uh, I'm just giving you that the scenario, it was the role based, right? Means
mhm,
role, like only role. So we just loaded the role, we just loaded the mapping with the role and the
uh-huh,
entitlements, right? So and like the no entitlements on requestable, only the roles were requestable. Now here
uh,
you can see that the role type, right? There is the one option in the role type.
yes,
Yeah, so there we have I'll show you tomorrow. It's not in this laptop. I'll show you tomorrow. It was
mhm,
given there like it's given one select query and where we have taken some custom property there, like custom property 51, 52, 53, 54. Actually, requirement was like all this role will be finally can be selected based on some scenario. Like a scenario was like this, like where you are located, like in which continent you are located, then what country you are located, then what state you are located. So once these three things you are selecting from uh, your ARS file, right? Then
mhm,
it could show, okay, like under that city, what are the role can be selected, right? Then maybe two roles or three roles were there. Then you can select like what is your job profiles related one, and then once you submit, then it used to go to the role owner and all this stuff. So that part I don't
got
want.
got
So
it, got.
but now what happened, I have seen this in the role type. They have created one select query. Then they went to the dynamic attribute. And in the dynamic attribute, they have taken the another your custom property and they just mapped with the custom property what they have used into the role type.
So that part, like it is done by like the another person. It's not by me. He helped me to just create that part. And then what I have seen, the output, what I've seen, like once I go to the ARS, let's say, okay, the I'm applying the role for Chirag, and then I have selected India. Then I have selected Mumbai. Then I have seen in the Mumbai, I have seen three or four roles. Then I have select one among of these three or four, or maybe just it was multi-select. I
Got
remember. So I
it.
could have select two roles, and then I could have able to apply it. So
Mhm.
that scenario was there, but it was entirely was query, like even in the dynamic attribute, the value part inside the dynamic attribute. So they have given the syntax, sorry, index 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, and then into the like, and all are the dependent, right? Like once you'll go there, go to the index number 2, then they shown like this one is dependent on the index number 1. Like once it is called, then no, the next steps will be the city. Then next steps will be the maybe the department. And then once all these three things are fulfilled, then he is able to select the role. So like I'll show you tomorrow. I have those queries and the copy of the snap with me. So
ठीक
but I didn't understand like why they have taken like the two different, like what's the logic behind like to take the two different your you know attribute, like the custom attribute, and then
है
how it is coming up to the form. So I'll just show you once, so maybe like if you
Sure,
you will
sure, sure.
understand maybe.
And I'll show you that, like how
Yeah.
they have done it and why they
That,
have done
yeah. And Chirag, one more thing, like what like I have seen like very commonly what I didn't understand. Some guys in one of the project, they have created the workflow, but they didn't draw anything. They did entirely on the XML. Now once it is just changing something, right? So they just go through the XML line by line and then make some changes. So like I have seen, and I'm just little confused to see that like it was given like the transition to, like it's going like that. I understand one part to another part, but now like once it is like from one single attribute to like once it is distributing to the
Okay.
two three different
That
level,
that is a different thing. That
different
is
thing.
from
Yeah, yeah. So now
that
I'm
is
saying
for
like
a sale point. That is for a sale point, not for a Saviynt.
no, but that is the Saviynt only, Chirag. What they did even in the I had the one another project actually for a very short period of time. They have 4 or 5 workflow created over there. I have the scenario. I've taken it in the. I have the XML with myself. I'll show you. So they
Okay.
didn't create any diagram. No diagram is created. So all the work, like whenever just I went there and like we select on the your edit, right, edit or update, right. So
Yes,
there
yes.
then at first it shows us diagram, and on the top of the right it shows view XML. Then if people want to see that, they can see the XML, right? But for that project, no diagram was there. They all are just only XML. So, and these all are the disconnected application that project has. They didn't have any connected application. So, but the workflow they have created, so it's something like just you have to basically read and then just make the changes inside the XML. Some but changes is not very major. Maybe that is some attribute or some name or something, or
Mhm.
maybe you want to delete one path, right? Like I said, like let's say like I'm just giving example, like I want it to go to the role owner, and then once the role owner approve, then maybe it will go to the user manager, and then once user manager approve, then he'll get the approval, right? So
Mhm.
suddenly requirement come, I don't want the role owner approval. You just take out that part, right? So like then what happen, like it will directly go to the only the user manager, and then it will go to the approval, right? So
Mhm.
like, or maybe in the mid, if they're trying to delegate somebody, right? If that guy is not available, if they're delegating somebody, how it is getting delegated, and then how it is getting, that thing is getting accomplished or rejected, something like that. But the what happened, like they don't have anything, like any diagram was there. In no diagram was there for that project.
How they're storing that?
So
Because
yeah,
that
yeah, no,
they
I the
used to
thing
write
is,
a update query or what?
well, I'll show you the XML tomorrow. I have the XML with myself. I'll show you the XML so you'll understand.
No, after modifying that XML, how they used to update those in backend server?
I don't have any clue. I can ask the guy. I still have the contact. I can ask him, hey, once you do
Mhm.
the XML, then I can ask him directly. But
Sure.
tomorrow, then I'll just do one thing in my morning, right? I'll connect that guy. I have his number. I'll just ask him like how he was just connecting into the backend side. But all their like 3 or 4 workflow they have only, other than the standard workflow. They have like the custom workflow what they have created, but all are they none of them has any diagram.
Mm-hmm. So
Uh,
might be what they used to do. They are like there is one configuration table, but
uh-huh,
that will not be visible to in a data analyzer or anywhere.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
So that will be like it will be only available from a backend server, and you have to rely on a custom query job to update those things.
Oh,
Uh,
okay,
but
okay.
but that requires like I think they like might be any Saviynt guy help them with
Mhm.
that scenario how to do it, because
Scenario,
that
yeah.
out of the box it is not available.
Not available. Yeah, because rest of all other project, even I have seen like people draw the diagram, whatever the queries they need to give inside the diagram only. So it's visible
Yeah.
from the outside. They put some queries and all this. But only this is the one exception I have seen in this one project. But anyway, like we no need to discuss about the exception in the interview at least. I need to know like the email template, na? So like in what are the areas where email template can be used? Like let's say in the workflow email template can be used, in the endpoint level email template can be used, right? So like where are the other area where we can use the direct email template?
Email templates mainly we use in a workflow,
Uh-huh.
then endpoints, and then it can be used in analytics. It can be
Analytics, yeah.
used in campaign. It can be used in campaign for certification, and it can be used in. I'm not sure about the SOD whether we can use it or not, but let,
Usually like in the SOD, uh, only like in the ARS I have seen in one project, like if it's something found, right, any violation found. So
uh-huh.
if somebody is applying any rule, so before the approval, that trigger to the first level of approval, like whoever it is the role owner or manager, whatever.
Yes, but it won't trigger any email
Yeah. So it just only show like
on
uh,
UI part. Yes, so
yeah,
that
like
that. uh, I
no,
think
but
in SB also like email templates will not be required. Only in attestation, in workflow, and in analytics.
analytics
There's three places where work and employee email templates
and
will be required.
endpoint. Okay, and the endpoint. Yeah, I have seen in the endpoint too.
Yeah, endpoint as well.
Mhm. Okay then. So just let me go through those part again. And I'm still just working on that. The rest part, I may have some questions. So just
Sure.
but the rest
I
part we'll do it after the
what I
interview.
would
But the
suggest, just create a what we say test
Mhm.
account on Okta. Okay, so
Okay,
Okta, they are providing this REST API, their exposed REST API for your individual user as well. And
okay.
there you can try those things. And you can configure that Okta application in your Saviynt tool as well. Just
So
for
how I'll do that? Like, do I need to just install Okta and like install means
no,
I
no need to install Okta. Okta is also one of the SaaS product, right?
search for, yeah, yeah. But I have just tried to do that. But what is issue is happening, like once I've created the user ID and password, right? I have given my Gmail ID and then I've given the
Mhm.
password, right? So then it shows like it's configured. Then after that, what happened? Like once I just log in, then it says login, right? So I give the user ID and give the same password, right? So basically, like after that, it just shows, okay, create the Okta review in your phone. So like it's only come like because I have seen in the project once we just assign new users, right? So once I'm
Mhm.
clicking on that, Chirag, it is saying, "Oh, this password is not password is incorrect. Please contact your system admin." It's all each and every time is giving the error. Yeah, exactly. From here, I have done the sign up here,
I already have it.
or else I can try with some other email ID and I can try again.
No, no. Actually, for that, what you have to do, you have to log in with your Okta, just sign in with email.
Yeah, it's come here. This one come to me. So I just put my user ID at okta.com.
So this one is there, right? And here you can select the developer version and classic UI. Once this is done, this is my Okta. This one, copy to clipboard. Okay, and I have to go here, open, and got it. It is working fine. You can see it worked, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You do not have any application. Go to admin. Okay, once what happened? I think they have changed the UI and something.
Mm-hmm.
Back in security, go to authentication and password multiple token. You can get a token somewhere here. API. Here it is. A user. Here you token, and you can create a
Yeah,
token.
yeah, create token, yeah.
And this token you can use for a connecting pair for connection one.
Connection. Okay.
And this connection you can create via what we say.
REST connector.
No, postman. Try with the
Postman.
postman first.
Okay.
Okay, try to connect
Mhm,
with your Okta instance with the postman using this
mhm.
token and all. Okay,
Okay.
and you will be easily find those Google Docs, or in Google you will be able to find those steps and all, how to do it.
Okay.
And Okta has its own what we say, this by default library as well. Let me show you how to do it.
Yeah, it's 7,000 connection should, sorry, 700 connections should be there.
You have already done it.
No, no, no. I just I had one Okta admin, like he was very good friend of mine. So like I heard few
Wait,
information about
I
it.
just enter Okta Postman collection. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
if you open it in an if you open it, okay, so import a Postman collection, click to run. So all those
I need
things
to find Okta.
you can do it. Okay, so run in a Postman if you say, so it will directly open here.
Hmm. So here I need to find the Okta, right?
No, it will directly do it.
Oh, it's already. Oh, okay, okay. I'm doing it from the Okta. Okay.
I just click on run on Postman. Okay, it will say that Postman for Windows.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and it will automatically open that Postman application running on your Windows server. Okay, and
Got
you
it.
can see Okta API, right?
Uh-huh.
So you do not need to write anything. You just need to update this URL and user ID, and
Okay.
it will do all those things, authorization and those things. You have to provide your API key here and all those things.
Okay. Okay. I'll just try. But Chirag, I'm definitely I love to try it from the Friday, but just only till Thursday. Like I have to make those things remember what you are saying.
Sure.
In today's then after, but I'll just try to create one by my own. If I can create one by my own, I'll be really get huge confidence then
Sure,
to
sure.
create the other. And you so okay, so this is the one web service. Yeah. So if I can do the Okta, then I'll be able to do the others as well by my own.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
those all websites are similar only. No, there is
haha.
no major
No, no, yeah,
difference.
yeah. No, no. I'm just only I just want to get one. Like if I just able to do one, then I'll be able to play around with the tool. But only
Yes.
only thing is like I didn't have any proper option, Chirag, and in that detail what you have shown me, na, I didn't know that. And only one more thing I need to ask you, that is that the schema one, what you have said, right? Like the mapping, or like let's say if I get the absolutely fresh system. So one thing today I have learned, like for this the job, single threaded,
Mm-hmm.
multi-threaded, like in case like based on the application, if something is requirement, we need to just check with the Saviynt guy. This is the one thing. And the
Uh-huh.
second thing, like what I have seen, like there is some mapping is also required from the configuration. Like once absolutely the system like there are the few things like that the what you have shown, like that the system, right? Like the system user, right? uh, configuration, like where you can give
Yeah.
that the condition, right? Like okay, it will connect with the employee ID and with the auto incremental, and then you maintain the account name rule also, right?
Yes.
So like
Yes.
this is the one scenario. So then but just want to send, even I have seen in the something like if I need to create some different scenarios, like let's say manager, right? So like I'm maybe I'm indicating somebody as a manager here, and I'm giving just when last project it was like this, like if somebody is the manager, right, the custom property 6 supposed to be have the 1. If the custom property 6 is 1 for against any user ID, means that user is basically marked as a manager into the system.
Okay.
Got my point? So like so now if somebody wants to select their manager, or maybe I'm creating one user, right, and I'm trying to select the manager. So like if your custom property 6, like the user custom property 6 equals to 1, then Chirag will come into the list as a manager. I can select Chirag from
Got
that
it.
guy's
Got it.
employee. Yeah. Such kind of things, scenarios I have seen there. So like we'll create then something like that, Chirag. Then I have seen like the another one I have seen, that is uh, contractor lead, because on that project it's a huge like like different continent based project, right? So now what happened,
Mhm.
like manager should be always an employee, direct employee, not the contractor, right? Now the
Yes.
scenarios happens like one US guy, right? One American guy found like one new report he added for him from Nairobi, Kenya, right?
Huh.
And that guy has no understanding who that guy is, like what he's going to do, like what will be his work. He doesn't have any understanding about that guy. Got it?
Uh-huh.
Now he said, man, now he if he's applying something like based on what I'll have to, because I don't have any insight about that guy, right? So they
Mhm.
have the similar problem for, because they are in the Asia, Europe, North America, Latin America, everywhere this company is there. So now then
Okay.
what their management proposed, let's do one thing. Somebody is recruiting that guy, right? And we know like in every continent we have somebody who is taking care only the contractors, like some leads are there. So now if we
Uh,
create one group for only
uh,
for those employees, and they are also contractor, they are also not like employee. So now what they have done, and they have some band level actually. So like contractor cannot be the more than band 9. So like their maximum level will
under,
be can be band 8 and below. So band 9 means band 9 and above is all the employees. So like for the employee manager basically. So what they
okay.
have said, you create some scenario like whenever some contractor will be onboarded from anywhere of the world. So
Mhm.
that in the group I am creating the bunch of people. So what they have provided, maybe 15, 20 names they have provided us, like the user ID. So if they have created the group, it's not me, some other people did it. I have just seen it. So they have created one group, and they put those 15, 20 guys on that group. Now what happened? They have created some queries. Those are the union queries. Like it's given something like this, like if that guy onboarding from such a continent, right? So it has not a continent, it's given as a department ID. Then the user manager will be this, and then the other condition, like if the approvers, first level approvers band is less than 9, then the request will be routed to the manager, who is basically the band leader, and that is the actually common scenario for all. Okay,
Mhm.
so then what happened, like if anybody, like that contractor knows like who that guy is, what will be his role and all this stuff, right? So then what happened, like once he approved, then that approval is to go to the somebody of the company's employee side, like who is the manager basically, who's is custom property 6 equals to 1, right? And just for the contractor lead, what they have done, I'm just telling you the directly, they have given the custom property 54 C lead. Like that value was given for the custom property 64 C lead. So like whoever user has the custom property 54 C lead means he'll be the contractor lead. Means he will have the approval authority. Now what happened, like they have created the three different queries. So like uh, the first will be maybe the requester, means the requester who is requesting it. So it will going to the contractor lead whose custom property 54 is that the C lead. Then one, and his band is, since his band is below 9, so it is routing to the 9 or above 9 to some guy who is basically the employee. Then once he is approving that request, then that guy is getting provision for the request. So they have basically created some queries, and it's given us the union, which two or three queries with union. And what they have done in the employee life cycle, so they have created like one thing called the manager as a contractor lead. And they are like, since like the way like we have done the uh, in the endpoint we have the custom property, right? Like I was showing you today, the
Yes.
role type. It's a similar kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll even I have the snapshot. I'll show that one you to today, tomorrow as well.
Understood,
So
understood. That we
yes,
can consider using custom query job. I think they have done it, and
yeah,
that
there's a
custom
custom
query
query
job.
job. Right.
Yeah,
You are
so
right.
that custom query job, what it will do once that it will check whether this particular attribute, custom property 1, 2, 3 are empty. Then in that case, it will try to populate those value using the combination which you just said. If it is a user is from this particular like department and this particular country, then it will check with these contractors where user that particular like custom property 52 that C lead is there. Then in that case, that user will be populated as a that custom property one of user, which is used in time at a time of workflow
Mhm.
to assign those work items. So that we can do. Like it's not a big deal. And I think what I would suggest, uh, like don't try to copy those things. Okay,
No, no, no.
just just get the understanding, and
Mhm.
that you can provide details at a time of interview, like how, what are the workflow you have written or what kind of configuration you have done. In that
Mhm.
case, it will be required, and you can answer
Required,
all
yeah.
those.
Yeah, only like for such scenario they have created one workflow. Like basically
Yes.
not created it, they
So,
basically
yeah.
modified the
So
software.
if
Yeah,
you
modified.
will provide this kind of detail, they will be easily understand that yeah, you have done some work on those
Work.
workflows.
Right. Yeah. Okay, okay, bye.
addition